Lil's in Rawton. Rawton or Rowton?
It's Rawton. Hello, James.
Well, is
It's
it though?
Rawton
Are there no Rowtonians? Is there a culture war in Rawton between the Rawtons and the Rowtons, or not?
No.
Carry on then.
At all. We're very firmly Rawton.
Glad to hear.
So I, due to boundary changes, I am now blessed with having Danny Kruger as my MP. And
he was the one. We should actually, for people who don't understand your sarcasm, Lil, we should dig out that clip of Danny Kruger, which for me was probably, and just think about how stiff the competition was for this, how the stupidest public statement of the entire general election campaign. But I shall keep that in my locker for the time being while you tell me the main reason for your call.
So, culture wars is a diversionary tactic. It's being borrowed from the Christian right in America. And Danny Kruger is an exemplification of that, because it's not just about picking on trans people, it's picking on anyone that's different. So last year in March, he went to one of these conservative conferences and he said to his audience that it was only a heterosexual couple that could provide the safety and stability that society needs. So as part of being a new constituent, I sent him a pleasant introductory email yesterday asking him to explain how me, as a lesbian who's been in a partnership for 26 years, how I made this country less safe.
Good Lord.
Or less stable. Funny enough, I haven't received a response as yet. But a lot of the kind of where it's succeeding in American politics, you get the right-wing conservatives who are attempting to emulate that.
And we use the word Christian in a syntactical sense rather than a doctrinal sense. The idea of loving your neighbour, turning the other cheek, not committing adultery, or various other things. Apparently, the rules don't apply to them, but they are very devout Christians. A little bit like Jacob Rees-Mogg's attitude to the poor. You can call yourself a Christian, but it doesn't come with any actual requirement to behave in a remotely Christian fashion. I've double-checked on this because I was worried that you might be misremembering. I only out of paranoia, but what he actually said, the normative family, the mother and father sticking together for the sake of the children, is the only basis for a safe and functioning society. If I were doing his PR, I'd say normative just means majority, so that will be true in a majority of cases.
Well,
but you felt he was calling you abnormal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all know the statistic that if we're going for normative, meaning the majority, then because we're not Han Chinese, we're all non-normative, because that is the largest culture in the earth, is the Han Chinese. So everybody that isn't. I think it was Dave Gorman where I got that from. So so anyone that
this is more substantive than I realised. I mean, you're giving me an example of the culture wars, but it's designed to make anything other or anything different questionable or subversive, and I mean, history's taught us when that happens. Is it over? Do you think or is Lisa Nandy being a bit optimistic?
I think she's being hopeful.
Yes,
and
we
I
like
think
hopeful.
She's giving.
We're going to overdose on
message.
hopium soon, you know.
Yeah, hope is powerful. I think she's being hopeful, and I think she's saying giving a message to the Conservatives and to Reform that you can keep firing these arrows, but we're not going to be firing them back. We're not going to engage.
And a lot will depend on what the media does, won't it? Whether or not the media continues to... Is that Jacob Rees-Mogg cycling past on his penny farthing, or is there a bird in a tree?
It's a bird in the tree. I'm stood in my garden.
Stay there. I'm going to see if my Chirpomatic app will be able to tell me what that bird is. Right there. Everyone be quiet, but don't fight. Last bit there could deliver. Hang on. What? Oh, yeah. I think that might be a blackcap, a garden warbler, or a song thrush. Lil.
It's either a blackcap or a song thrush. And
so the garden warbler's off. Garden warbler's out of the running.
Yeah, I've never had one. My birdie app thing has never picked up a garden warbler, so it's either the blackcap or the songfest.
And can you not see it?
No, I have trees in my garden and they kind of sit up.
Do you know what the Latin name is for a song thrush?
No idea.
Turdus philomelos, which brings us back to Danny Kruger.
Yeah.
Here is my favourite contribution of the general election campaign.
In power for a long time, and I recognise people feel like it's time for change. Actually, we represent the change that's needed. Labour represent more of the same. They might have different faces, but they would be the ones carrying on the failed British state that has caused so many problems for our country. So, that's just extraordinary. So don't vote for... We've been in charge for 14 years, but if you vote for the other lot, things will carry on as we've done them, and that's awful. Danny Kruger, or of course Dunning Kruger, to give him his full name. 27 minutes after 11 is the time. Matt's in Basingstoke. Matt, what was that all about? Not the stuff with the bird song, the culture wars.
I think the culture wars don't go to your previous call of the Christian right in the US. I think it goes back further. I think it goes back to the 30s in Germany with Goebbels, the demonisation of groups.
And this was you could both be right. It's not. She's talking about the modern iteration of something that you're taking back even further. But what was it? What were they trying to do?
I think it's a distraction technique more than anything because of the Tory incompetence, and I feel like the culture wars. It's a demonisation. It's making people fear the other. When Sunak went after people with benefits, that put the frighteners up on me because there's people that I think the new frontier is going after people that are on the spectrum, neurodiversity.
I think there was a Reform candidate, wasn't there, who used the word vegetables in the context of autism.
Yeah, that made me sick to my stomach.
But on the plus side, Matt, I'm sure it keeps Nigel Farage awake at night.
Yeah, we had a Reform candidate where I am, and he had to step down because he was linked to the BNP.
Oh.
So,
what an extraordinary coincidence.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it? So you and the last caller, and Lil, it's actually a little bit more serious than I'm allowing because of what it echoes. You'll like this from Becky. It might sound silly as a concept, but it's just giving a tabloid term to deeply sinister right-wing values. They want to return society to a time when there were no gays, no visible disabled people, and women knew their place, i.e. the kitchen, and pumping out heirs/workers, depending on what your social position was. So there was something substantive and serious beneath the apparent silliness. But they could never come out and say any of that. They just had to allude to it or nod to it, or, in the case of Suella Braverman in the last 48 hours or so, accidentally perhaps say the quiet bit out loud.
I feel like that is what a lot of Reform candidates said. They said the quiet bit out loud. They said the bit when you're down the pub and you hear the classic phrase, "I'm not racist, but."
Yes.
You just kind of, as soon as you hear that word, you hear those words, you think someone's going to say something that's going to be, yeah.
So how confident can we be? Because I suppose, Farage and his mates have got a few seats in the House of Commons now, which they've had them before, but not as many as 5. How confident can we be that the culture wars are over? A lot of it will depend upon how much attention the media give to the people who are still keen to fight them. The people who, if we're honest, haven't actually got anything else.
No, I think I feel like the press barons, if you want to call them that.
I like that.
But they've not got their. They've got a regime that's not going to kowtow to them. You'd like to think.
We shall see. And we will.
The press reform potential.
My feelings is that the kind of the stuff that we get in the media about the culture wars, and maybe the things that some politicians say about them, are designed to distract from other things that are going on.
Yes.
This notion that that this idea between the right and the left.
Don't look at the NHS. Have a look over there at the National Trust.
That's right. Look over there at the National Trust or the BBC, or this notion of whatever woke is, which seems to be able to shapeshift into almost anything as far as people at the right of politics seem to want to.
And I can never really tell you what it is. I'll give you some examples.
That's right.
A police officer wearing a pride helmet, and you'll say, well, what, all the time? No, just on the day of the...
Just very briefly, I mean, woke in now is a bit like gay was amongst kids in the 1990s. I remember I was working as a school teacher. I retired a couple of years ago as a school teacher in the 1990s, and the word gay was bandied around like it was something that was seen as being substandard. So I was told that I had a gay car.
Right.
It was a blue Austin Metro. Okay. I mean, they didn't like it very much, and so woke became this kind of.
I don't know where to go with it. I don't know where to go with this. I love the fact that you told us what the car was. Sometimes the magic is in the margins, isn't it? If you hadn't told us what the car was, that would have washed over me. But there's still a bit indignant about it. It was a blue Austin Metro.
It is.
It was bloody blue. It was blue, lads.
This idea that it was kind of cruising around late at night looking for like-minded thoughts, something like that, this ridiculousness of it all. And I think the idea is to kind of distract us, to get the left versus the right. And the left, to be honest, are in a way just as culpable because they've fallen for it.
Yes, some have. Some push back.
This notion that you can get yourself completely off your nut on the policies of the National Trust.
Yes.
Where at the same time there are horrendous things going on within society and horrendous things being considered within government that no one's paying a lot of attention to because they're distracted by this
crikey. I mean, I would probably, from a position of self-defence, argue that you can do 5 hours a week on how awful these policies are and 1 hour a week on how mad this National Trust conversation is. I don't think that...
I think you can from your particular perspective. I absolutely agree with you because, the idea is you take the issues of the day and you discuss them and there's
you've got to diffuse them sometimes. You've got, if people are... I struggle with this on an almost daily basis. People are marching around being dangerously stupid and begging for attention. The temptation is not to give them any attention, and then you end up with someone like Andrew Tate influencing an entire generation of school children, and it was clearly a mistake not to give them more attention and point out all of the flaws in their thinking.
It is difficult to get a balance between the two,
isn't it?
But yeah, as I say, I get the feeling that this stuff is designed to distract. This stuff is designed.
Yeah, well, that's true. It could be doing both at the same time, Eugene, couldn't it? It's designed to distract, but it's also quite deeply sinister. The more you dig into it, and the more you remember the historical consequences of othering.